dress, turn the Jew to a flex. Just look at the chick, I poke out my chest. Treat it little boy like my pets. I let the bitch you who for sex. I know they don't want to catch. Got one-on-one ice on the jet. One-on-one bitch, they 10. One-on-one never again. One-on-one. Don't get the kick in the butter. I kinda like hustle the money all in. I'm around the town in the drop top coupe in the motor in the truck. You can hear it. Ain't all about how they want me to lose, but I'm W. Do for a win. One-on-one missing it up. One-on-one missing it in. One-on-one missing the kick. One-on-one bitch. Go to the spot, I got one-on-one pieces and all of them cost me a good. So I'm ready to tip. On them hip, I don't got a chip.
Looking for a unique point of view on pro sports game analysis? Then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.
There you go now.
I think every.
Oh, that's it. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs, and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. 018-14868.
Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Vini Vini Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlie of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up, fool! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I gotta go to work in the morning. Well, it's not my fault. I was voted neighborhood watch person, and my job is to bring the neighborhood together. Some people don't appreciate it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's not my fault. You should have counted all the votes. Counted all the votes. I want to say what a beautiful day in Denver Hills, California. A beautiful Thursday, October the 3rd, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. Wilma! This is not your friend Flintstone's Escalade. You don't have to use your feet to power this down the road. Man, who made cars back in the days of Fred Flintstone? You must have had some sore feet walking around on them there hills trying to pull that carpet down the road. All's Fred Leavenworth. I'm telling you, today I have Big C's thoughts. I got some college football, some rankings, going to go through that with the college football rankings. At the same time, I have some stuff on real estate that I got to take care of too. With all the people that are doing real estate transactions, I want to make sure that you know you can get your transactions done for real estate. Not only that, we deal with living trust. I have some attorneys that are talking about living trust to make sure that your property and your family is protected. You got to make sure that you do that. If you don't do that, then everything you have can be exposed to the court system. You don't want to have it exposed to the court system because there are people who will take everything. They'll take all your assets. That's a fact. And you want to make sure you protect that. And that's what I do with the RDC team. More and more people from sea to shining sea, they're making sure they get their asset protected. And that's what we do with our real estate and our trust attorneys. And that's a great thing to do. I got a joke. It's called, when you think about the joke, I got it from a dollar store. So hopefully you don't mind if it's not the funniest joke you've ever heard. It's called Knock Knock. Who's there? Honey. Honey who? Honey Walnuts. It's funny to me. Honey Walnuts. That's the name of some new nuts that I found at a grocery store. I was looking for some nuts. Like a squirrel. Even a squirrel gets lucky every time. Every time it goes out, you may find a few nuts. So I found some nuts. They're called hot honey walnuts. I'm figure it said it's made good for snacking. If you want to snack up some nuts, imagine what a squirrel would do if they found some hot honey walnuts. I told you the jokes you can get at a dollar bookstore. I hope they never go out of business. Oh man, everybody needs some nuts. I feel nuts today talking about honey walnuts, hot honey walnuts. You can't just put one in your mouth because they come together in clusters. Oh Lord, pray for that man. Pray for that man. I want to say I love bringing you Big C Sports Podcast. I'm one beautiful and intelligent black man. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows based on the platform provided by the agency. We should all have more laughter and some hot honey walnuts in our lives. And then I do the sound effects. The commercials are done. The stats are provided. I even do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. 1st and 10, 50-yard line, 49ers up to the line of scrimmage. Montana under center, 4 wideouts, 5-man front by the Cowboys. The snap, Montana rolling to his right, rolling, throws downfield. It is caught for the touchdown. Touchdown, Niners. Big C, 50 yards. I'm telling you, those were the days back in Denver Hills, California, when Joe Montana and Jerry Rice were doing their thing with Big C. All fan level, I really do love talking about NFL football, but I will bring that to you tomorrow. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show. I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports Podcast back in the day of Salem Media, and now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice, and now we have people who miss practice. I want to make sure I do that right for you. And I also want to say what I love doing with Big C Sports Podcast. I love saying thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports and those hot honey nuts to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I want to make sure I shine light on the world, and I want to do that with Big C Sports. But I also want to make sure that I do with Big C Sports Podcast. I want to make sure that I shout out the Veterans Crisis Hotline, because they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, you got to know there's help for people. A lot of people are dealing with crisis and trauma, and there's a crisis hotline. It's not just for veterans, but it's designed for veterans. They will stand on their head to get our veterans some help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on, and it sure is good when somebody's leaning back, and I love bringing that to you with Big C Sports Podcast. It's always great when somebody's leaning back. No matter what you think about what's going on in your life, it's always nice when someone notices you and says, good job, young man. Good job, young man. Really do appreciate that. I was at a real estate training today, and obviously the market is what you make it. And I was given with Equity Zone Mortgage today, Kevin Nguyen put on the training. I have the chance of also meeting Joey Sotorino again. He gave me this book that I actually won in the drawing, It's by Ray Johnston. It's called The Hope Quotient. The Hope Quotient, HQ. It includes an HQ assessment. Measure it, raise it, you'll never be the same. I'm going to read that book. Hopefully by the weekend, I'm going to get that done. But I'm always trying to improve everything that I do in my life. And in fact, what I'm going to do right now that I want to start doing with every Big C Sports podcast, I've been doing a lot of training, and I hope it makes sense to you. And you can even sing along with me. Ready, set, go. Nam yo renke yo, nam yo renke yo, nam yo renke yo. One of the most significant attributes of Nichiren Buddhism is its easily accessible practice of chanting Nam Yo Renke Yo, Nam Yo Renke Yo, Nam Yo Renke Yo. It's a profound yet simple method of Buddhist practice. It's the perfect Buddhist teaching for the modern world. Now, practice is one of the three pillars of Nichiren Buddhism, and the others being faith and study, and through which we can bring forth our innate Buddhahood. And I'm going to just say I'm doing the best I can to have a quantum leap. And I'm been chanting Nam Yo Renke Yo, Nam Yo Renke Yo, Nam Yo Renke Yo. And before I get into my commercial for the RDC team, I was saying, oh my God, I just had another epiphany. I've been launching this clothing line since 2017, and then things got in the way, and it never happened, but I still have the merchandising. I already have the hats, and now I'm going to be marketing Big C Sport Apparel with these short sleeve athletic shirts, and it's made out of what they call microfiber, and so some of it glows in the dark. I have short sleeve and long sleeve, and then I'm even thinking about doing some Big C shoes. It's got to be the shoes. It's got to be the shoes, Big C. Some hot honey walnut shoes. That's a nice flavor. The hot honey walnut shoes. Remember, the holidays are coming up. You must be nuts. No, not nuts. You must be hot honey nuts. For the holidays, I want some hot honey walnuts. For the holidays, they're made for snacking. Big C's hot honey nuts. Hot honey walnuts. For the holidays, they're good for snacking. You can't eat just one nut. You can't eat just one nut. Wow, goodness, my greatness. Somebody pray for that man. Somebody pray for that man. I do love when people pray for that man. And I also have Big C's jockey shorts. They come in one size, extra large. And then I got a few complaints that people said, man, extra large is not good enough. And so now I have two sizes. One side is extra large, and the other side is extra wide load. If you need an extra wide load, give that some praise. I said, give that some praise if you need an extra wide load, because we have that coming out too. And ironically, with my chanting and praying, I got a call today from a partner that I work with. They distribute everything around the world, actually, for college sports teams and professional sports teams. And he texted me back today that he's at his son's wedding up in New York, but he's out of Florida. And so I believe that we're going to put together a great synergy that we started in 2017 when he flew out to Denver Hills, California. But now I have the merchandising hit the holidays. It should be in Walmart and Target and other sports apparel stores by Christmas. And it's Big C Sports Apparel. And I really do appreciate the way God has orchestrated that. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. But now I got to tell you, when you do things the way I want to do things, I want to make sure that my sports show is not just about touchdown, home run, three-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way. I don't want to be just about old man Willie and going all the way. You should know me. One of the good old boys back in the day, I think it was Simply Red, and also Teddy Pendergrass. They had a song, and I'm going to try to sing it, and hopefully you don't throw up. Hopefully you don't throw up on all those hot honey walnuts. If you don't know me by now, if you don't know me, you will never, ever, never know me. Hot honey nuts, hot honey walnuts. Big C's hot honey walnuts. Why not me? Why not me? I'm just so grateful that God is opening so many doors with that pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. And that third eye is wide open, especially with those hot honey walnuts, Big C's hot honey walnuts coming to you for the holidays. What do you want for the Thanksgiving? I want some nuts. What kind of nuts do you want? I want Big C's hot honey walnuts. You can't eat just one. You can't eat just one. Oh, Lord, somebody pray for that boy. Well, I have a quiz coming up, and you got to pay attention. This is not your great-granddaddy's quiz. Well, you can take that test. Remember in high school, in college, you take a test, and you know you didn't study for the test. So you tried to wing it. If you tried to wing it, then you hope that you scored high enough. I can't wing it on my show because I do it live. I do it so everybody can hear it. And hopefully you can go along with me because it's so important to you. And I'm going to let you hear some attorneys talking about how important it is. It's not just me. I'm so grateful for things that are coming into my life. And I want to thank Joey Zadarino that said, you have a great way of dealing with people. You're great at engaging, great recruiter. Just a lot of good things that I love hearing about when somebody says nice things, because people don't have to say anything nice to you. In fact, a lot of times people have their own challenges and they don't have time to think about other people. But attitude's important. So what's your attitude in life when it comes to business? I got to make sure my attitude is good. What's your attitude? How do you look at life? When you deal with things, are you dealing with struggles or challenges? Are you in the middle of it? You got to come out of it. You got to realize that everything we do in life is about attitude and approach. And what is your expectation? And I want to add all of that into what I learned today, things that we already know. And there are also things that I want to improve on. I want to have higher expectations for myself, and the Almighty God has opened up the extra card moment for Big C Sports Podcast, the extra card moment where God opens your eyes and lands things up for you. They just line up like breathing. You don't even think about it. And let's just start to be more complicated. It's so easy. And imagine when God opens doors, it's easy. Walking right into it with the Spirit. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Ready, set, go. A guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Attorney Scott Thibodeau and Attorney George Jones, Esquire. The Missing Link, Long-Term Care Solutions by the book. Over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits. Medicare and You, Taking Care of Tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other states, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. And you can find out your options. And I got to just take a pause and say, I've been taking this speed reading class, and this stuff works. But I flunked the speed reading class. What? You flunked the class, Big C? Yeah, they said I don't talk fast enough. I'm trying to take these classes where I can speak like those car auctioneers, where they go, so, and I tried it. They said, Big C, you talk too slow. So I'm trying to talk faster. Try it sometime. So, to the person with the hot honey walnuts, all's fair and level warm. Back to my commercial. Our promise to you, and I want to make this promise to you. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. We specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care, protection of your assets without a spend down. The spend down is over in California. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by a staff of entitlement specialists. We have ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. But not only that, protection of your assets. Is that Aflac? No, Aflac's the duck. That's gap insurance. A duck can't protect his own assets. That's why you can order one from a restaurant. You just walk into the restaurant and say, duck. That's the asset protection, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. You better believe if you don't have a will and a trust, the probate court, they will have one for you. And you will not like it. They can take between 10 to 40% of all your assets. You got to have a will and a trust. I was talking to some good old boys, some attorneys. These are AV-rated attorneys through Martindale Hubbell. They said, Big C. I said, yeah, what's up? They said, would you believe that 7 out of 10 Americans do not have a will and a trust? I said, oh, you must be out of your fucking mind. Spock from the great Star Trek. They said, no, seriously, 7 out of 10 Americans do not have a will and a trust. What that means is, at the end of life, you're going to go to probate, and that can take up to 2 years or more. And that's when the government, they say, oh, we have a will for you because you didn't protect your assets. You got to have a will and a trust. But they said 7 out of 10 Americans have cable TV. I said, oh, you must be out of your mind. They said, no, 7 out of 10 Americans have cable TV, but they don't have a will and a trust. I said, well, why would they not have a will and a trust, but they have cable TV? He said, because a lot of people, they're out of their fucking minds. A lot of people are out of their minds. They put their money in the wrong place. You got to have a trust and a will. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. I'm not done yet. I said, I'm not done yet. You got to find out what we do with the RDC team. It's asset protection. It's like a football play. Hut 1, hut 2, asset protection. Asset protection. In fact, I'm going to add on to my infomercial. Hut 1, hut 2, asset protection. Now pay attention. 1st and 10, 50-yard line, 49ers up to the line of scrimmage, 4 wide outs, 5-man front by the Cowboys. Montana under center. The snap. Montana rolling to his right. Rolling to his right. He throws downfield and it's caught. Caught for the touchdown. Touchdown, Niners. Big C, 50 yards. Now think about this one. Now listen to the commercial with asset protection. You got to listen. There's a different call. So Coach Walsh audibles to the Joe Montana. 49ers up to the line of scrimmage. 4 wide outs. 5-man front by the Cowboys. Montana under center. Hut 1, hut 2, asset protection. Montana with the snap. He's rolling to his right. He throws downfield. It is caught. Caught for the touchdown. Touchdown, Niners. Big C, 50 yards. You notice the last play had asset protection. You got to have asset protection in life. Like Montana to Rice. Montana to Big C. You got to have asset protection. What is protection, Big C? Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyer specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. What about fixed assets, Big C? Does your trust protect that? I'm glad you asked, because a trust protects your bank account, your checking account. Let me pause right there. You ever hear of those ambulance chaser attorneys? They're the attorneys that they follow ambulances because they know that there may be a chance to take someone to court and take all their assets. And they love people that don't have a will and a trust. They do that because if they find you have enough assets, they will come after first they'll tell the client, you don't pay unless we win. What? I don't pay? I said, you don't pay unless we win. Unless we win. Because they'll come after your bank account, your checking accounts, your savings accounts, your money market accounts, your certificates of deposit, your life insurance with cash values, your fixed indexed annuities. What about variable assets, Big C? Do they come after that too? I'm glad you asked. Some of those attorneys are called Darth Beta attorneys, and they join the dark side. They come after your real estate, your qualified money, your IRA, your 401k, your other investments. For example, avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and then 1 year later that house appreciates to $1 million. Well, that's a $900,000 capital gain. You avoid that with a trust. Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Attention business owners. You got to find out your other option to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. And when you do, you got to tell them Big C sent you. Now, I got to tell you, there's something I've been asked oftentimes. Big C, my friend, he does trust. And he also been my friend for a long time. Why would I trust Big C and the RDC team? Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. And I want to ask you, does your friend that does trust have references? Because the RDC team, not only do we have references, we give them to you. We have the late James Gomez, who advised 4 California governors and led change in California nursing homes. He also was the CEO of the California Association of Health Facilities. He also served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. But not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was the top legal counsel for CalPERS. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have George Jones. Esquire. He's the chair of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. But not only that, we have Attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. But not only that, we have Mr. Leon Woods, works with many of the top lobbyists in California. But not only that, we have Mrs. Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz. He's the CEO of Resource Development Consulting Inc. Been doing this thing over 34 years. That's important. He's been doing the thing over 34 years and growing. But not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. Now, he's the founder of American Veteran Benefits. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. But not only that, also business development consultant for the RDC team. And not only that, owner of Big C Sports Podcast Corporation, the #1 sports show in the universe when it comes to sports and asset protection. You got to protect your assets. But not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Not only that, she's business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on accesssacramento.org. Also on KUBU FM 96.5 FM. And also eatprivate.net. You got to give that some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, I'm going to tell you about asset protection. I want you to hear some lawyers talk about why you need a will and a trust. Listen with your own eyes and ears. It's not just me. You know I'm big on reparations. I'm big on asset protection. And I'm also big on making sure you get your sports right. I have meat on the bone. You got to have some meat on the bone to go along with those hot honey walnuts. Listen up to these lawyers talk about why you got to have a will and a trust.
Or people in our community in general have like a gang of kids, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. How much generational wealth are you leaving per kid if you just have all these kids? Do you recommend doing that, or should you like think about how many children you're gonna have to set them up?
When you think about John Singleton, when he set up his trust, it was over 20 years ago. He only had one child. When he died, he had 7. So now they're fighting over all of his money because he didn't equally distribute it. And so I would say, if I had 7 kids, 10 kids, or whatever, and that's the other thing too. You got to update these things as you go along. You did 20 years ago, you got to do it, review it every 3 years, 5 years, because you might acquire more property. So you might have this property in there, but you don't have that property in there. If something happens, that one goes to probate, this one's protected. So you got to review it every few years to make sure, or as you're adding people in your life, or as you're adding property, add them to your living trust. But definitely, my trust is set up to where my kids get, I got 4 of them suckers, and each of them get everything, it's 25% to each of them.
And the main thing about that is you must always update. You must update. We're going to continue this conversation, but I wanted to bring up this chart before we go to break. In the U.S., approximately 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation. And 50% of family businesses fail to make it to the second generation. And 90% does not make it to the third generation. These numbers mean no lucky. Lucky on the penny stack. We've got to change these around and understand that this is an important thing for us to be able to pass this down to our children and our families. But we're going to continue the conversation right after this. You want to grow your money and not blow your money, as Constance says? Check us out at flynoviamoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, programs, videos, resources. In 2024, there's no reason to be broke when there's information all around us. So get your money right. flynoviamoney.com.
They're talking about the power of a will and a trust.
Before we went to that commercial, and those numbers don't look good. Dr. Alicia, I want to ask you, in cases like this, where there's a power struggle between the siblings, how should family members communicate and set boundaries to avoid escalating conflicts?
I think I answered that before, is we
when you die, right? Because I just learned just a few minutes ago that John Amos had cognitive decline. So he had some stages of dementia, right? So he wasn't able to make decisions. And so beforehand, you need to set aside and have conversations with these people about, I want you to be my power of attorney for healthcare. Pick another person, another child, another person who's close to you to be your power of attorney for finances. I want this person. Put money aside because you got to pay for somebody to wipe your butt. I mean, paying for end-of-life palliative care is extremely expensive, and you'd be surprised how long people live with dementia. And they need it's a lot of money. You have to have nurses and staff and social worker like me. You have to pay for to come and give these services, and a lot of it is not covered under your insurance. So you have to look at Medicare and Medicaid. It's a lot of very complex information that all of us need to know. When I teach this class, lifespan development, I teach it to undergraduate students. So most of the students are like 20, 30. Sometimes you get older students. And our final assignment in this class, because we start from conception all the way up to end of life, I say your final assignment is create an advanced directive and turn it in and communicate it with your family and write an essay on how that experience was for you. Because I feel so strongly working in this field as a social worker in Chicago and in Illinois that so many people don't make their wishes clear. And then when you're incompetent or when you pass away, people are like scrambling, like, what did he want? I think he wanted this. I think he wanted this. I think this. And then people are clashing. So again, to think about your legacy is thinking about now, no matter how old you are, getting the plan in place. And even if you can't afford a trust, like a trust can take, a lot of effort. There are things that you can do where you can not have to have a trust. It all depends on your financial situation, how much property you have. A lot of people can give things away before they die, and they just know, I'm just going to be in this one little place and I'm going to give stuff away before. So I'm going to ask you, Constance, how do you think financial strain or control over an estate has a broader impact on the family dynamics? And we're not just talking about the siblings, but we're talking about grandchildren and maybe sometimes sisters and other siblings. What kind of impact is this and financial strain over this? It's huge because the breakdown, especially when you're talking about grandchildren and the rest of the family, if there's a breakdown at the top, of course it's going to affect everybody else.
So now you hear why the RDC team with the Big C team focused on professional athletes and also everyday people on the requirements and the necessity of having a will and a trust. I'm going to let you hear Charles Barkley speak on what happens to a lot of professional athletes.
But I tell these guys, Shannon, when I first was an idiot, when I got my money, I had like 3 or 4 cars. And Dr. J says, how many of those cars can you drive at the same time? I said, what do you mean? He says, how many of those cars you got to drive at the same time? I says, 1. He says, well, why you got 4? He said, Chuck, this money got to last you for the rest of your life. He says, this money got to last you the rest of your life. He says, son, don't waste all your money on cars. Everybody know who you are. Wow. He said, you pull up in a Kia. They know, oh, that's Charles Barkley. You pull up in a Mercedes-Benz or a Rolls-Royce, that's Charles Barkley. But the problem is that money. It's not the fact that you can't afford that car. Right. It's the fact that $300,000 you spent on that Bentley, if you bought a car for $70,000 or $80,000, you would have had $200,000 more in the bank, and it would have been growing and growing. And in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, that $200,000 is going to be worth a lot more.
The question is, Charles, is that and I tell young people, you can afford that car right now at 20. Will you be able to afford that car at 60?
Yeah, that's the key.
There's a 40-year gap in there.
Yeah. But see, the young guys, they think, like, I always tell them, I say, yo, man, we know stuff. I ain't trying to hate on no young guy. But I'm trying to, because I don't want you to be on that list. What list is that? 80% of professional athletes go broke. I don't want you on that fucking list.
Where are they now?
Yeah, well, like, yo, this money, you're 20.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 55, how much money you going to have left?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key.
Especially living life. If you're living a lifestyle right now, don't you want to live that lifestyle for the rest of your life? I mean, I don't want to be poor. I've been poor.
Hey,
I know what it's like to eat raccoon, possum, sardines, Vienna sausages, pig ears, pigtails, pig feet. I don't want to eat that no more, Chuck, unless I want to. I don't want to have to eat it out of necessity.
Hey, well, listen, I got to have my pig feet.
You still eat pig feet?
I do. Oh yeah, I do. I got pig feet. I get them. I go to a great soul food place here called K&K.
Okay. I
get me some pig ears. Not pig ears, pig feet.
Yeah.
I got to have my neck bone.
You see, I love some neck bones.
I love
oxtails.
Oxtails. That's their specialty. I love me some oxtails.
Yeah, man. See?
You got to get some yams. You got to get some collards. I mean, but when like I said, I started out and I tell them, I said, yo, man, I've been in your situation. I wasted money on cars.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, man. Because when you waste money on cars, you're really just trying to impress other people.
Correct.
That's what you're doing. Wow. That's like when I used to have nice cars, they said, what kind of rims you going to put on it? I said, what do you mean? They're like, put some rims on it. I said, so if I put rims on it, I'm really trying to impress other people because I actually can't see the rims when I'm in the car. That's what I told him. I said, I can't see the rims when I'm in the car.
Right.
So that's what Doc said. He said, so you're really trying to impress other people.
Right.
You don't have to impress people. They already know who the hell you are.
Is it because, Charles, a lot of us come from single-family homes. Yeah. We didn't have anything, and this is the first opportunity. Because we don't see the other side. They don't. Yeah. I don't think Peyton Manning went out and bought a Rolls Royce. Yeah. I don't think guys when they obviously they have nice homes and But I'm saying because all I wanted when I was like, man, when I saw Miami Vice and I saw that Ferrari, I said I'm getting me one of them. And Rolex, I said I got to get me. So I wanted to that was my way of saying I've made it. Yeah. And Herm Edwards, who's somebody I really like and admire, he says you can have one car. You don't need 5. You don't need a bunch of houses. No.
He says, I live by the one model. You need one. That's good enough. And like I say, and the young black kids, and I'm talking to them, man, save your money.
Yes.
And another thing, you don't have to take care of all your family and friends. For some reason, black people, myself included, I used to be like, my financial people told me, why are you taking care of 7, 8 people? I'm like, well, he said, no. No, you don't have to take care of everybody.
Right.
Because you're going to go broke.
Mm-hmm.
So now I tell these young kids, yo, man, if you want to do something nice for your mom and dad, you want to do something nice for a brother or sister, that's fine. They don't have to be on the payroll.
Right.
You don't, you don't owe them. That was their job to take care of you. But if you want to do something nice for them, that's fine. Grant Hill, his mom.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Gave me the best advice ever. I said, because we were at the Olympics actually here in Atlanta in '96. And her and Calvin had came down for a couple games. They said, well, Chuck, we're going to be here a couple days and we got to get back to work. And I says, Grant just signed the first $100 million contract in NBA history. She says, sit your ass down, Charles. I said, Miss Hill. He says, Charles, I'm going to just give you some advice. Do not start taking care of your family and friends because, number one, they're never going to stop. And it's going to ruin all your relationships. Mm-hmm. I said, what do you mean? He says, when you start giving people money, they're never going to ask you for money one time.
Right.
But she said, the second thing is, no matter what you do for them, the first time you tell them no, they hate you. And I said, what? And I had to learn. People I have been giving money to, the first time I told them no, they're like, no, we're not friends anymore. Yeah. That was a tough and painful lesson for me.
Give Junior Bridgman some credit, too. People don't know who they are.
Well, every time I see Junior, I say thank you because Magic is kind of taking over now.
Oh, yes.
But Junior was a good player, but his portfolio, owning all those restaurants, probably being the first billionaire athlete, to be honest with you. Him, Dave Bing, and also is amazing businessman. Right. But every time I see Junior Bridgman, for a guy who didn't make a ton of money.
That's what's so impressive.
Yeah,
and didn't have the name.
Didn't have the name. to learn how to handle business. He's probably got 500 to 1,000 restaurants now. And like does it so low key. Does it so low key. Like every time I'm around here, I try to pick his brain.
Right.
Because the one, like it's different now. Because these guys make so much money.
Yeah.
I said, back in our day, I said, dude, and I'm not poo-pooing on this either. I want to make it clear because, when I say it, it's going to sound stupid. The most money I made was $5 million. That was my last year.
Right.
I says, now that's below the minimum. I says, to be a businessman in our day and become a billionaire, you are great at business.
Right.
You are great at business.
And he wasn't a name. People wanted to attach themselves to Magic.
Yes.
People wanted to attach themselves to Mike.
Yes.
He was Junior Bridgman.
Just a great businessman and a good dude. Here's to me is one of the greatest stories ever. And if I was the NBA, I would bring him in every year to my teams and say, guys, because what people don't understand, everybody on an NBA team or NFL team ain't making a lot of money.
True.
Or ain't going to play a lot of years.
10, 15.
The average, in both sports, the average year is about 4 years. Those are guys who need a Junior Bridgman. That's like, I was watching the draft last night, and this always annoys me about young kids. I said, like, these dudes got Louis Vuitton shirts.
Iced out.
I don't mind a little ice, but too much ice. They got Dior shoes. I says, they do know that money ain't gonna last forever, right? Get you a pair of Nikes. I'm not paying for no Dior shoes.
But you got to be nice. Because you had that cranberry suit on. You were nice, Chuck, with that little skinny tie.
There's nothing wrong with a nice suit.
Want to join Club Shay?
That was Charles Barkley talking about wealth that's generated. A lot of professional athletes go through it, and many do not have a will and a trust. Even though there are some athletes who've made $100 million in their career, they may not have a will and a trust. Before I get into some sports tonight, I want you to hear the greatest speaker in the history of this country that talked about reparations, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
Problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them, murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You heard from the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the talk of reparations that I know is necessary and due. There are times when people may get jaded when they hear some of our wealthy athletes that talk about having millions of dollars and multiple homes and a big lifestyle, but that's a pipe dream for a lot of people. It's just not realistic for a lot of Americans. But having a will and a trust is realistic, so I love bringing that to you with Big C Sports Podcast. I got to tell you tonight, are you ready for some football? Yeah! Ready for some football. Thursday night football preview prediction discussion. It's week 5 of NFL football. The Kansas City Chiefs, they will host the New Orleans Saints for Monday Night Football at Arrowhead Stadium. That's coming up Monday night, week 5. It kicks off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 3-1 on the road against the 2-2 Atlanta Falcons from the beautiful Atlanta in an NFC South battle on Thursday Night Football. The game will be carried on Amazon Prime and also Fox 13 in Tampa and WAGA Fox 5 in Atlanta. I'm telling you, according to some good old boys, 800 Gambler, FanDuel, the Falcons are favored by 1.5 points. 2 quarterbacks are making a go for it with new teams. Tampa Bay's touchdown Baker Mayfield and Atlanta's Kirk Cousins. They're facing each other at beautiful Mercedes-Benz Stadium tonight in Atlanta. The Buccaneers are coming off a 33-16 win over the Philadelphia Eagles. In week 3, they dropped a 26-7 decision to the Denver Broncos. Now, the Falcons, they handed the Saints a 26-24 loss. It was an upset loss on Sunday, and that was after they registered a 22-17 defeat of the Kansas City Chiefs. When you think about that, in week 3, it's a division game and a pretty even match. I still think that Tampa may be the better team, but at home, the Falcons are playing pretty good football. But I know Todd Bowles likes to blitz. He likes to blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz. And that, to me, can Cousins stay off of his backside? Can the offensive line for the Falcons protect the assets of Kirk Cousins? And I don't know if they can. That's a game tonight. It seems like to me, and I was wrong last time when I said the Eagles would go in there and win. But a Buccaneer, those Pirates, they love eating hogs. They love eating hogs. I'm looking at Tampa Bay going into Atlanta and getting that win tonight because I think Baker Mayfield gets a little bit more action under his feet than you have with the good old boys down in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins not being as mobile as Baker Mayfield. And I think with Todd Bowles, they like to blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz. And to me, that's going to be a problem for Kirk Cousins to stand up under all that pressure with the blitz. I do want to talk about some things, too, that are happening with the NFL. I'm going to do Big C's Friday Nights on Friday and also college football predictions and, of course, the NFL prediction. But there's a lot of things happening in the world of NFL football. For the TV broadcast map for week 5, there are a lot of games around the country, and people want to know where they can go to find their favorite teams. And I love bringing that to you on Big C Sports Podcast. The Eagles are on their bye week, but the games must go on as the NFL heads overseas for the first set of international games. Detroit, Philadelphia, Tennessee, and the Los Angeles Chargers are getting a much-needed rest week this week. And even with those 4 teams out of the country, there's still quality games to watch, including the intriguing, how about those Cowboys? Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers matchup on NBC Sunday night with Thursday night quickly approaching. There's a lot of opportunities to watch different games. I got to tell you, as I mentioned tonight, Thursday Night Football, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons on Amazon. Sunday, going to have the New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings in London. And that's going to have NFL Network, Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner. Sunday night, Dallas at Pittsburgh on NBC. Monday Night Football would be New Orleans at Kansas City on ESPN. And the buyers are Detroit, the LA Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Tennessee Titans. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. If you want to know how can you find some of the other games coming up this weekend that I'll talk about on Big C Sports, the early games have Cleveland at Washington. The great Jason Benetti and Greg Olson will call that game. Carolina at Chicago. Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma will call that game. Miami at New England. Chris Myers and Mark Sanchez will call those games. Everybody has a thought about who the best broadcasters are. Well, sometimes there's no place like home. The Arizona Cardinals are at Levi Stadium in San Francisco, California. That's a late game with Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos in the Mile High. It's a late game with Kevin Krugler, also Daryl Johnson. And everybody has their own thoughts about who they like to listen to when it comes to watching games. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. May the best teams win. I love NFL football. It's a great game, and oftentimes we wonder, how do you cover so many games, and who decides who gets the trevor to cover those games? That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love doing my part with Big C Sports Podcast. The Issachar Anointing. I love doing the Issachar Anointing. It's about God aligning you with things that are necessary. I want to just tap on what's going on with Major League Baseball. Got some great baseball. I love runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. We have Thursday night, October 3rd, the National League wildcard game, the New York Mets at the Milwaukee Brewers. That game is tied. That series is tied at 1 apiece. You can see it on ESPN. There's a lot of great baseball to be played, and obviously, I would love to see, again, I'm not biased, but in my opinion, the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees, they appear to be on a collision course, and that would be wonderful if that could happen. The East Coast versus the West Coast. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. But in the American League, the New York Yankees, the Kansas City Royals, the Cleveland Guardians, the Detroit Tigers, they have a lot to say about who's going to end up in the World Series. And on the National League, we have the Philadelphia Phillies, the San Diego Padres. They're taking on the LA Dodgers, Chavez Ravine. Those games obviously are must-see TV for you sports aficionados. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And I love bringing it to you with Big C Sports Podcast. There's so much that I enjoy about the sports business. Sports is a billion-dollar industry. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And I love being a part of that with Big C Sports Podcast. I know for NBA basketball, again, the NBA basketball world lost Dikembe Mutombo, Hall of Famer, passing away just this week. And thoughts and prayers to his family. He was dealing with some issues, and a lot of people are, but wishing nothing but the best as his family goes through the grieving process. But the 2024 edition of NBA Media Day, it gave us a great deal of excitement while also supplying some incredible loss. I think when you look at NBA, the day began with news that the legend Dikembe Mutombo had passed away. He's only 58 years old. That's so young. That is so young. The entire league and his coaches and players, they took time to mourn and pay tribute to the great Dikembe Mutombo. The remainder of the day was his usual schedule of players, coaches, and executives doling out pleasantries and sports platitudes, giving us their best and their first outlook on the season. And, of course, Jimmy Butler will make a cameo still in the spotlight with whatever he decides to do, showing up for another season. This year, 28 NBA teams, they'll held their media days over the course of Monday. The Boston Celtics, defending NBA champions, and Denver Nuggets already kicked off the festivities with their own media days last week in preparation for the NBA and Abu Dhabi games on October the 5th. And this marks the 2024-25 season for the rest of the association. I love NBA basketball, Big C Sports, launching my own TV to cover NBA wrap-up, and I'm looking forward to that. That's new for Big C Sports in 2024. I want to say, out west, Kawhi Leonard's hoping for opening night return. The great Kawhi Leonard is still coming along after an offseason knee procedure. In speaking with reporters on Monday, he said that he's hoping to not miss any games to start the season, but is cautious. Don't want to see him have any more issues with that knee. The plan for Leonard is to keep playing, not miss a lot of games, but he has to stay healthy, and I hope that he will stay healthy. The Indiana Pacers star, Tyrese Halliburton, obviously one of the great reasons that Indiana had a nice run in the playoffs last year, and they're hoping that they can have another good run this year. I want to also say, in my opinion, up north in Denver Hills, California, the Golden State Warriors, with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, they don't have the Splash Brother now because Klay Thompson's in Dallas, but Golden State will have another great season. I think the Sacramento Kings, they're going to light the beam quite often in Denver Hills, California. You have De'Aaron Fox. I think is going to guide that team to another Western Conference playoff appearance. and I can't wait to see how things come together for Mike Brown's team. And I can't miss talking about LeBron James and the LA Lakers and Anthony Davis. The Lakers, obviously, the talk of Los Angeles, even with the Dodgers and the playoffs again. And then the Rams and the Chargers, of course, they have their hopes for a playoff season in Los Angeles. But it's all about the LA Lakers. And also, if you look at the LA Clippers, the Clippers will always be a backseat to the LA Lakers. But Media Day was a laid-back affair, and especially true for the LA Lakers father and son duo, talking about a recent scrimmage. And Bronny contends that LeBron was out after scoring on his son, and they changed a lot of jokes. I just wish them the very best. A father-son opportunity to play in the NBA, that's amazing. The big cat going to New York City, playing for the New York Knicks in Dim Hills, California. I think that's going to give them a great opportunity for the Knicks to challenge the good old boys in Boston for NBA Eastern Conference supremacy. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I'll have some Big C's college football tomorrow, Big C's high school Friday Night Lights, and also Big C's NFL preview for all the big games. The big games, as I tell you, if you don't love football, then something's wrong with you. You must be nuts if you don't love football. I gotta also tell you, I'm so happy that Big C Sports Apparel is coming out, launching soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait till that comes out, Big C Sports Apparel. It's got to be the shoes. It's got to be the shoes, money. It's got to be the shoes with Big C's Sports Apparel. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Everybody has their own hopes and dreams. If you have hopes and dreams of doing your own show, just do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you save may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who's loved by somebody else, if that makes sense to you. Just tell someone if they're going to drink and drive, are you out of your fucking mind? And take it with the keys and live to see another day. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. Well, my beautiful mother always says there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. If you know anybody going through that crap, pick up the phone and call 911. You need more LEADA in your life. LEADA is an acronym for love is the answer. If someone loves you, they don't hit you. I only hit you because you make me mad. Call 911. If someone loves you, they don't kick you. I only kick you because you make me mad. Call 911. If someone loves you, they don't choke you out. I only choke you out because you make me mad. Pick up the phone. Call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, I pay homage to Big C Sports. My family growing up on my mother's side, my great-grandparents called them Mama and Pop. Beautiful, loving, kind people, always providing lots of love for the family and lots of food in the belly. I remember as a young boy coming outside from playing with my brothers, running right into the kitchen with those dirty hands saying, Great-grandma, I'm hungry. I want some ribs and some collard greens. She said, okay, baby, just go wash your hands. You can have some ribs and some collard greens. I said, Great-grandma, I'm too hungry to wash my hands. She said, baby, just go wash your hands. You can have something to eat. I said, my belly's hungry now, Great-grandma. She said, you wash your hands in this house. So, of course, we wash our hands, and then she let us eat. I love my great-grandmother with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my great-grandfather, Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. Can fix anything with his hands. Planes, trains, and automobiles. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, beautiful, loving, kind people. They were seers. They can oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And they still help me to this day. And then I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. Dear mama, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. It's a car moment. I give God the praise. It's my turn. I'm rising and shining. God, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I just want to say, God, you know my dreams. I love coming to you. Just say yes. Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against me will prosper. My mama taught me that. And Matthew 7:7, ask ye shall receive, seek ye shall find, and knock it shall be opened unto you. Mama, the best person I ever met in my life, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. And they owned 40 acres of land. Now, the Homestead Act gave white Americans 160 acres of land. Even white Europeans, they told black people no. But I remember, I was 8 years old walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night. And I felt someone touch me on my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies? I said, well, what are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap. What I'm doing, Grandma, I'm going to get my reparations. But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now Big C Sports Podcast is on 29 podcast applications and streaming on 4 TV platforms. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And my grandfather, Albert Curry, a smart man, a bright man, can fix anything with his hands. Love him with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, son, develop your mind to its highest extent. First one to tell me about the SR Blackbird. Flew from New York to Los Angeles in 1 hour and 8 minutes. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying, go forward. A voracious reader. He would say, always go forward. Don't look back because you don't have much backside. He said, I love my backside, Todd. He said my backside needed to be bigger. I need to do more squats. So I've been doing my squats. And that stuff works. And it's going to look even good, even better when I have the Big C's jockey shorts. It had the Big C goes on the front. Don't put the Big C on the back. It looks better with the Big C on the front. And that's about the way I'm thinking with it. You know, we both love Malcolm X, but we also love the movie Pulp Fiction with Sam Jackson. What's in your wallet? Ben Rames, Bruce Willis, and John Travolta. Before the big fight, Ben Rames said, Bruce, sit your butt down. Take this money, and remember, your butt goes down in the 5th round. See that fifth? And so they said, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, that stinking sensation you feeling, well, that's just pride. Blubbing with you. And you know what Ben Rames told Bruce Willis? A lot of athletes said to each other, maybe in the Falcons and the Buccaneers game tonight. He said, blood pride. He said, pride only hurts. It never helps. It says, life is filled with a lot of unrealistic, muddy bluckers who think that butt gets better in time like fine wine, but it don't. And in terms of vinegar, then it do. Someday you're going to thank Uncle Marcellus when you're chilling in the Caribbean. You're going to say, Uncle Marcellus is right. Well, we know that Bruce did not take he didn't take the dive. And he lost his LA privileges. Todd, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy always trusts God, Isaiah 54:17. I pray that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Daisy, she helped me set up the very first interview at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until Daisy did her thing. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I'm so proud of you. Daisy also scored 6 goals in a soccer game. Now, she's a right-footed kicker, but she did it left-footed. It was Daisy with the ball, Daisy with the kick, Daisy with the goal, goal! She did it, and the team won the game. The team won the game. And Daisy, you can win in the game. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17. I pray that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. I'm so proud of you. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm always trusts God, Isaiah 54:17. I pray that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. Always know that. Always know that. One day, Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper and look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast on players and teams. And one day, Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And the light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now I'm streaming on 29 podcast platforms and on 4 TV platforms. And then one day, Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, it's now streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Malcolm, you can be anything what you want. I'm so proud of you. Always trust God. Keep being a good man. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years. Like my great-grandparents come out of that barn with their church buddies, always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. It's been nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-way teleprompters. All I have is this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients called it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God. And that's why I talk so loud. God, you hear my prayers. You hear my praise, my praise, my praise. I deserve it, God. That quantum leap. I've been working and manifesting and meditating for it. It's an Issachar moment. I thank you, God. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love always paying homage to the greatest fighter to ever live on this planet, Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. There was no fighter greater than Muhammad Ali. Now, if you know my show, I always pay homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and America's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. What are they telling our presidents to do today? They're saying you got to do what's right. And what's right is to sign reparations now, reparations forever. Say it again. Reparations now, reparations forever. Say it one more time. Say it loud. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. 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 I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.
Looking for a unique point of view on pro sports game analysis? Then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.